guys, welcome to my very special podcast in my in-laws' backyard. Me and my daughters are currently working for my husband, or we're waiting for my husband to get some work done. He is an electrician apprentice. So, yeah, working in the neighborhood. And I wanted to show you guys today something very special. It's special because I usually never knit it for myself, and I always knit it for my children and other people. But I am making my first, yes, my very first full-sized sock, adult sock for me. I don't usually knit socks for myself. Actually, I've never knit them for myself. But, yeah, this is my first pair, and I really like how it's turning out. So this is why you should knit socks for yourself. Because you're worth it. You're worth the sock. But yeah, let me show you guys the colors. Okay, so of course my absolute favorite yarn sock base of all time, this far, is Hedgehog Fibers. It's this, this like mermaid emerald green. I forget the name of it. I'll post the link in the description before, but I got this in actually like a mini pack. So it came in a 20-gram skein. So I'm really hoping I have enough for like the heel and the toe as well. But yeah, I love the color. And then this one is the Andromeda sock yarn. I think, yeah, it's by Andromeda. And I love this colorway, and I picked it because it made me think of my daughter, actually. But it's called Jellyfish Dance Party. That is so cute, guys. It's so cute. Jellyfish Dance Party. And surprisingly, I've had to rip this sock out. Well, maybe it's not a surprise, but I've had to rip this sock out probably about 3 times. The first time I made it on a needle that was like way too large, and I was doing like a little garter ridge like every 8 rows, and I just didn't like it. So I decided to totally stick with a vanilla sock, and I also went down a needle size, so I had to rip it out again. And yeah, so just ripping this thing out. But I'm surprised that this Jellyfish Dance Party, the Andromeda sock, am I saying that right? Someone will probably correct me in the comments. But I've ripped it out, yeah, so many times, and it's looked brand spanking new every time. It's a 20%, probably a superwash merino, and then, or I'm sorry, 80% superwash merino and then 20% nylon. But it looks great, guys. And I'm so glad I ripped back and I am doing it on smaller needles because it's just going to last so much longer. And when you spend that much time, especially on a thing like socks, you just really want to make it worth your while. So, yeah, I wanted to show you guys that today. And also, I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, how I started to knit. I previously touched on this, I think, in my last video a little bit. So, yeah, we're just going to start. My little one is sleepy. Oh, there we go. She is going to sleep. So I'll probably actually hold her while I tell you guys this story. But, yes, I know. I know. Okay, so, I learned to knit. Yes, this is Tegan. Say hi. Can you clap and say hi? She's so sleepy. I love it when they're just little. He's so cute and so little. Oh, yes. Oh, no. No. If you're going to hit me, this is not going to work out well. Okay, so I learned to knit by asking a lady in my church. At the current time, we were going to like a home church in a Bible study. It was like a Bible study home church. And I asked this lady, she was sitting on the couch, and for the love of God, I cannot remember her name. But my other one's playing back there, so I have to keep an eye on her. But I saw her, and she just I knew how to crochet. This was like when I was about 4 years old. Or no, I was about 6 years old, and I saw her knitting on the couch. And of course, I was like intrigued because I love working with yarn. I'd already been introduced to crochet. And she had this soft, creamy white yarn, and it was so lofty, and it was just like, oh, it was beautiful, you guys. So I went up, and I was probably just like sitting there watching her, and she's probably like, what is wrong with this kid? But yeah, so the 6-year-old just walks up to her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm knitting. And she was just casting on, and she had worked about an inch of just like something super small. It was almost like a metered square or something, like a metered square blanket. And I was so intrigued, you guys. And so I remember just being like, hey, can you like teach me? And she was like, yeah, I'd love to. And I need to find her and thank her so much because I love it. and I love to knit. And if it wasn't for her, because my mom didn't knit, like I wouldn't know how. So yeah, that was really awesome. My mom has actually given me her phone number before, and I lost it and I didn't call her, and I need to go get it again and send her a thank you note, possibly even a skein of some hand-dyed yarn or something. So, but yeah, that's how I learned to knit. And for the longest time, I didn't have knitting needles of my own. And everyone in my family crocheted. So I used colored pencils. I thought that was the coolest darn thing ever when I was 6 years old. I remember bringing my colored pencils around and showing them off in public places and like knitting and stuff with them, and people were just like, wow. And of course, colored pencils, right? They're huge. They're nothing like a size 1. So, which you wouldn't really want to start a child on anyway. But they're huge, and so I always knit. I think I've knit. What did I make? I made a lot of like blankets for my dolls. I think a couple times I made like a long rectangle and folded it and made like a pouch to put stuff in. Oh my gosh, there was a leaf blowing over here and I thought it was like a mouse running a. Ugh, that was really scary. But nope, it's a leaf. Anyways, yeah, I was knitting all the time. I made a lot of like washcloths, I'm sure. But mostly probably like stuff like usable items for my dolls and whatnot. Oh, my little lady, she's jumping. Oh, she's jumping on the trampoline. But yeah, so that's how I got started at a young age. And with those colored pencils, man, the wood always splintered. It always splintered. So I would be knitting and it was like really annoying and I didn't know any different, but it would be catching on the yarn. So, but it's okay. It wasn't like super expensive yarn. It was just little acrylic yarn. But yeah, so that's how I learned to knit. And don't grab that. I would say through elementary school, I guess I dropped it. I was a kid. I was doing other things. And then when I hit high school, like middle school, I was like starting to get back into the craft scene. And then in high school, there was this class, and it was like a crochet class. And it was one of like those home ec classes. So, the lady who ran it, she was my math teacher. And it was kind of like it wasn't really like a structured class. You would just bring your yarn and your hook and just make something. And so I remember spending more time in that class showing other ladies, or not even ladies, like girls and boys, the brave boys. You were very brave. I love it when I see a man crocheting. It's very cool, by the way. But yeah, I would always teach them like how to start their work and help them fix their problems. Not a lot of knitters. I think for many people, and this might not be true for you, but in my experience, what I've seen is many people start off crocheting and then they get into knitting. And I mean, for me, it was like that. I mean, although I learned to knit at 6, I didn't start knitting until after I've been crocheting for like 15 years. And I think that's when I really fell in love, is when I started knitting. And so that's why anyone who is a hardcore crocheter and they've never tried knitting, thanks, Tegan. If you are a hardcore crocheting lady or man, I urge you to try knitting if you never have in your life, because for some reason it just helps the texture of the yarn. It really enhances the yarn and it just really brings out its full beauty in those knitted stitches. I love a good crocheted blanket. I love a good crocheted like thick cowl, but there's some things that are way better knitted, just trust me. So yeah, especially if you're knitting, or especially if you're crocheting with like, I don't know, everybody has their way and no way is wrong, so please be kind in the comments. But I just encourage you, if you've never knitted before and you've been crocheting all your life, I challenge you to knit. And if you actually do that, how about we have a hashtag, and it's called, what's something that's like accepting the change? I don't know. Hashtag, I don't know. Someone figure out a hashtag. But yeah, anyway, so I challenge you to knit if you have always crocheted all your life. Hey, baby. But yeah, I would say after high school, in college, I got a little bit more back into like fiber and stuff. And then it wasn't until I had kiddos, it wasn't until I had you, that I just absolutely fell in love with making things for my babies. And I love it because it's so practical. growing up and in college, I took so many art classes, and I am a painter. I draw. I'm very, very artistic. And I was always kind of like the artsy one. People were coming to me for that kind of stuff. But as much as I appreciate art, for me, it just wasn't very practical for me to make. So, like, I would paint a beautiful picture. One second, baby. I would paint a beautiful picture, but it hung on a wall, and it had its purpose there, but I wanted something I could use. So that's why I love, love, love making things for children. They're quick, they're fast, they're charitable. If you have friends with kids, you can make a ton of things. And they get worn a lot. They get worn a lot. I think part of that is because they grow so fast. So, I don't know. It just seems, at least my kids and my friends, I'm like, you better wear this. I don't want it to sit in a shelf. It is too, I don't want them to grow out of it. You better wear this. I spent a lot of time on it. And you know, you would always rather somebody wear your knits than just like them feel like they're too pretty, excuse me, never to be used. So yeah, I really got back into knitting when my first daughter was born. Her name is Oakley. She's almost 3. And funny thing is, they told me on her ultrasound she was gonna be a boy. So, before I started knitting when she was born, I was crocheting a lot of boy items for her, unknowingly that she was a girl. Yeah, it was a total surprise. So our baby shower that my sister-in-law threw us, it was totally boyish. It was the cutest boy baby shower I had ever been to, and it was for her. We had no idea. So when she was born, I had her in like no knits. I had nothing made for her because everything was like gray, browns, and I mean, of course, some things were unisex, but I mean, really, I didn't have anything for her. So, hey. So this little girl has been more fun to knit for, haven't you? Hey guys, we are back. Had to put my little one asleep, so she's sleeping right here in her car seat. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I learned how to knit. It really is the gift that keeps on giving, and I'm trying to encourage a lot of my other close friends to get more into fiber. That's funny. If someone just clicked onto this podcast and they didn't know we were talking about like yarn and knitting and crocheting and the fiber arts and like weaving and that kind of fiber, they would be like, I'm trying to get my friend more into fiber, eat more oat bran. But no, anyways, yeah, I really am trying to get my friends more into the fiber arts because it is so much fun. And it's a great like community thing, and exactly like that's exactly what this is, and this video is all about is just the community, and that's why you're here watching this. So yeah, my dream is to one day be sitting in my own yarn shop, and I will be having a huge table. I'll have a huge table, and a bunch of people will be sitting around it, and at that point, like, politics don't matter. Just a lot of differences that keep us apart don't matter, and it will just be a place where everyone can come and knit and have that sense of community. And I mean, my podcast is named Christian or Kingdom Knits, so I'm not gonna lie. I am a Christian. I am a very proud Christian, or maybe a humble Christian, haha. But I named my podcast Kingdom Knits. It came to me when I was sitting with my daughter and we were listening to this song, and watching it on YouTube. It was just, I forget what the song was, but it was talking about the kingdom of God. And I was like, oh my gosh, Kingdom Knits, that's perfect. And I checked out YouTube and no one else had it. No one on Google had it. And that's exactly what it's for. It's about making knits for the kingdom. It's about helping other people. It's about making things for the ones you love. And also sharing Christ along the way. So I want to share this verse with you. It's Ecclesiastes 24:25, and it says, what is it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna like totally butcher this, but it is good for a man to eat and drink and enjoy the toil of his labor, for that is a gift from God. And then the second part of the gift is, for without God, what is good? And that's totally what I feel my craft is about for me. And like, it's just good. It's enjoyment. It's fun. And if this is just a little slice of heaven on earth for me, I cannot imagine what heaven is going to be like. And, you know, so yeah, that's me, guys. I will have another podcast coming super soon, with like a voiceover of Kingdom Knits, like my grand opening of my podcast. And with this podcast as well, I know this started out as like a story of like how I learned to knit, but I'm going to shuffle it a little bit into like what I really want to say is I didn't really see a podcast about knitting that was something that I was looking for, so I'm going to be creating it. And it's not going to be all about knitting. And let's be real, like I have a life outside of arts and crafts, and I feel like a lot of what I do goes into my craft. So making things and like just giving things away and that kind of love and praying for people while I am making things, that's really what it's about. And of course I love a good sock yarn. I love a good hand dye, so we will be talking about those too. There might be some patterns coming out that I'll be designing. I have to, whew, you scared me. I'm filming a video for my knitting podcast. Oh. This would be a perfect time to introduce my husband. He was working on electrical. Come here, honey.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, this is my husband, David. He's awesome because he supports my my yarn addiction, and
by
he's
getting
very
electrocuted every day.
by getting electrocuted every day, so I can spend copious amounts of money on yarn. No, just kidding. But yeah, so I'm so grateful for him. I'm glad you're back because I kind of want to wrap up this podcast. So yeah, what's your favorite thing that I've made for you?
My green.
Your green hat. If you guys have seen the Malabrigo Rasta yarn, it's like a huge, super bulky yarn that's like a single ply, and it's just like, it's almost like really, it's like slightly felted roving yarn. But I made him a hat out of that, and I'll post a picture now, and then that's his favorite hat. Thank you. I'm glad that it's your favorite. That thing is so gross looking now, though. Oh, and when you block it, superwash yarn grows like a ton. So, yeah. Okay, well, guys, thank you for joining me for my podcast of how I learned to knit and from who. Hopefully I can get in touch with the lady that actually taught me and send her a little thank you and, like, yeah, perhaps some hand-dyed yarn. So, I'll see you guys next time, and toodles. Bye. Bye.